Thanks so much. It's so wonderful to be here. And one of the reasons why I love being part of the service is for all of the love. It's an incredible church community, and I always love being here. So thank you all for that. So I was so moved when I saw the order of service for today, and I saw that last song on it, "Open and Willing," because that is one of my favorites, and then the version that was played is truly one of my favorites. And it's been a song that has sort of wound its way through different periods of my life. And the way that I work when I talk and how I've been trained is that I like open for the signs, just as all of us have different ways. We have signs in our lives that spirit is there for us. Like our dear friend Laura, who sees hearts everywhere and makes hearts in the snow. But, we all have had those experiences where something has happened and we're like, oh, that's what that means. Or my mom is here, or my dad is here, I know. And so it is with following the links, the trail, if you will, to what is it that we trust everyone needs to hear in a certain moment. And so when I saw that song, I felt like I was being beckoned into something. And shortly after that, came across a quote that's so common. It's one of those ones that's hard to find, common as a core spiritual principle, but it's hard to find who actually said it first. And simply, it goes, the ego is important. The ego is impatient, that our physical self is impatient because it knows it is time limited. The spirit is patient because it knows it is eternal. And so as I stepped into the energy, finding the link to the vibration of the words to offer you, I found myself going back and forth between that quote, the impatient self versus the patient spirit part of ourselves, and what it takes to be open and willing in this physical world. Because of course, all of us in that song probably felt that pull to show up, to do the best we can, to have our hearts be open. And yet, we know in the day-to-day, it's hard to maintain that expansion, that feeling of nothing being impossible. So the other piece of that song I truly love offers us another glimpse into that dance of, may the winds of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. The human challenge of, I want change, but I must walk through the change. It doesn't simply happen with the flip of a coin. I don't simply walk through a door and I am changed. It's a process. And so being open and willing, I see as an invitation, as a call to stepping into the fullness of our lives. To not be afraid, or if we are afraid, don't stay in the reflex of fear when the change throws us off balance, or when we open our hearts to something, but we feel the push back because the person or the thing we're working with doesn't quite embrace us as we hoped would happen. And so I want to invite you into this acceptance that it's not all or nothing, that push to the universal natural law of balance is in all of this work. That everything in us as beings of light, as sparks of the divine, all connected, yet having simultaneously our own individual journey, that we are in this ongoing call for balance, even as the imbalance pushes us forward. It is always rooted in love. And remembering that can help us shed a little bit of the fear. dust it off a little bit, if you will. Being open, having a heart full of love, centers us in a different vibration, doesn't it? When we feel the fear or the reflex or the what's going on kind of moment, and you take a breath and you let yourself say, all right, this is what I intended, and see if with your breath and remembering how you want to be ideally in the world, it can take you back a little more into that vibration, a little more disconnected from the fear. But what I want you to know most of all is that it won't disappear, this push and pull, because that is the human journey. The understanding of the laws of gravity and the importance of rolling with things is why trapeze artists can do their craft. And while they may have harnesses just in case, if we can understand that our harness is an invisible one, that spirit is always there to lift us up when we need it. But we need to get to a place, and there's no end in that. It is that ongoing work of moving with the flow of change. Because all of us here are at different ages, different life experiences. And so remember, there's no one path. Some of us may go through similar experiences over and over until we finally understand the missing piece, and then we move forward. And then what inevitably happens? The new opportunity to make sure we can stay in balance presents itself. And sometimes, isn't it the little things, like the annoyance at a store, or when we're driving a car and someone does something we think they shouldn't have done. But sometimes it's the larger things too, of course. The how we want to live, how this job that used to feel like a perfect fit doesn't anymore, or how the relationship that used to serve you is now mostly saddening you. What is it? It's ourselves. Because as we grow, what we need changes. And that's why that balance, that action, the striving to figure it out will always be part of the journey. And more than that, I challenge you to consider, if you reach a place where you feel like you are not being challenged or everything is in perfect balance, you may not be truly open to what you could be working on. You may be, in fact, shutting things out. Now, I'm not against happiness. That's not what I'm saying. But to consider other ways fear shows up in our lives, that we may have closed doors without realizing it because we are afraid of that dance between the patient and the impatient. Our impatient selves want it all at once. And sometimes, I'm sure some of you have had the experience, when you get what you think you need or wanted, we may not be sure what to do with it. It's always about working for the optimal vibrational balance. On some days, that may very well feel exhausting. But if we accept that, if we truly can accept that as part of living with natural law, living with the ongoing progression of our souls, then it is not to be feared. It is to be welcomed. And it is to trust that if I have a challenge and I don't see the way through, that if I can work on my patience, if I can work on my trust with Spirit, then the way will be shown to me, that I will have new ideas, because Spirit will have a connection to share, to impress. Of the highest and best potential for us next. If we look through the ages, the power of music and the arts have always called the human soul forward, right? Through all of the turbulent times in our country's history, where those experiencing oppression created their own voices. Song offered us today, which came out of the civil rights and the women's movements and the anti-war movement in the 70s. And now today we hear the voices of young people in the push again for true racial and social justice, for standing in a place of love together. The music coming out, the art coming out of this time is truly profound. And why is this important? Because the arts open up that creative part of ourselves, whether or not we are the ones singing it or the ones creating it. We are affected by those vibrations. So again, as you heard this song, Open and Willing, I Am Willing, I hope that you felt that power of the vibration, because that shows up for us in so many ways. Just as we feel the vibrations of those things who do not serve us, or the things that do not serve us. And we can choose not to put our attention on those. So look around your life. Where are you feeling the call to open up to that next stage of your development? Are you seeing the signs and not paying attention to it because perhaps you're not sure which way to go? Perhaps it feels a little too scary. Release the judgment on that and just allow yourself to say, yes, I don't know how yet, but I'm willing. For in that shift that happens is the release of the resistance, which then allows other things to come forward and get your attention. There are so many ways Spirit is beckoning us, but we, as this impatient physical person here, have to sort out how to listen, how to be in that dance of coming together, moving apart, coming together again in perfect vibration, and still having new things to figure out. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, I thought I could get to somewhere and just rest. And yes, we do have moments of rest. But what I'm asking you to do is to think about how to rest and enjoy where you are without shutting down the next phase, without becoming perhaps stuck in fear that this is as good as it could get. For Spirit offers us the understanding that all is possible, even beyond that which we can imagine. As humans, we want that clarity to know, what is it But what if we allowed ourselves instead the space to say, I trust it is going to be amazing, and I don't need to see what that is yet? Do you feel the difference in that? From the impatient need to know everything, which brings with it fear if we cannot see it, to the dance with the patient part of ourselves, the larger part that is spirit, who offers us the knowledge that there is time for everything. Can you feel the beautiful rhythm in that type of vibrational dance? I hope you can. I hope you look more and more for where those invitations are being offered to you in this time of incredible acceleration, in this time of incredible connection where our physical boundaries don't make a difference anymore, because here we are in this incredible technology environment. I hope you look around and know that all the signs are there for you. We must be ready. We are the ones with our human free will that can decide to look. But more than ever, wherever you are on this vibrational dance, I hope you know that when you are ready, Spirit is there, always ready. Because at the core is that progression of our souls, is that love, is that partnership. Because saying, as spiritualists, we are never alone, does not simply mean you and I. It means the literal connection of all. It means that we only have to look to extend our awareness, and help and support is there and can be felt. Our free will is a tool, and sometimes it can be a block. So when you feel that block or you feel that fear, remember to pause. Remember what you know in the spirit part of your being, that all is possible, that there is time for everything in this eternal progression. And try to calm your impatient self just a little and stand there in that stance of, I am willing. I am willing because I know that Spirit sees the larger plan. I know that as I stand here open in my willingness, that I can choose to self-protect at any moment. But more than anything, my friends, I hope you will choose to continue the journey and bring yourself through the pauses with love, with trust, and feeling in some moments, the most moments that we can in this physical world, the fullness of the partnership with Spirit and the possibility for all that we can be individually and together, creating magnificence here on earth in the process. Thank you.